The stars vanished one by one as the massive ships blocked their light. Earth's astronomers noticed it first, a strange pattern of darkening across the night sky. Within days, everyone could see it. Something big was coming. Emperor Zoltar stood on the bridge of his command ship, gazing at the blue planet on the main screen. He was 9 feet tall with scales that shimmered like oil on water. A crown of bone spikes circled his head. He had ruled most of the known galaxy for over 1,000 years. "Another primitive world," he said, his voice deep and bored. "How many planets is this now, General Vex?" General Vex, a 7-foot-tall warrior with red scales and cybernetic arms, checked his data pad. "This is conquest number 8,342, Your Greatness." Zoltar sighed. Conquering had become routine. His eternal armada had crushed all resistance for centuries. No species had challenged him since the Arcturians tried 300 years ago. He had turned their sun into a black hole as punishment. "The usual protocol, then," Zoltar said. "Destroy one major city. Give them the standard 2-day surrender period." "Yes, Emperor," General Vex said with a bow. "Our scans show they are only a Type 1 civilization. They have basic space travel but nothing beyond their own moon. They will surrender quickly." Down on Earth, in a laboratory deep under the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Alan Shepard was having the worst day of his life. His experiment had failed again. For 10 years he had studied what he called dimensional resonance, the idea that space and time could be folded, torn, and reshaped with the right energy patterns. "Maybe we should give up," said Olivia Martinez, his research partner. She pushed her glasses up and looked at the smoking machine in the center of the lab. "The university will cut our funding next month if we don't show results." Alan ran his hands through his messy brown hair. "One more try. I think the problem is with the quantum stabilizers." Olivia sighed but nodded. They had been friends since graduate school, and she knew how stubborn Alan could be. "Fine. One more try, but then I need to eat something besides vending machine candy." As they reset the equipment, neither of them knew about the alien fleet now hanging above Earth. They didn't know that in Seattle, people were looking up at a massive shadow blocking the sun. In the White House, the president sat in stunned silence. On every screen in the Situation Room, the same images played. Enormous ships at least 3 miles long each, moving into position above major cities worldwide. "We've tried all frequencies," said the Secretary of Defense. "They're not responding to any communication attempts." "What about our missiles?" the president asked. "Already tried by the Russians," said the Joint Chiefs Chairman. "Their warheads just disappeared before impact, some kind of advanced defense shield. Before anyone could speak again, all screens switched to show a reptilian face. "Emperor." Zoltar looked down at the humans with cold, ancient eyes. "People of Earth," he said, his words automatically translated. "I am Emperor Zoltar, ruler of the 7 galaxies. Your world is now under my control. To demonstrate my power and the futility of resistance, I will now remove one of your cities." The transmission ended. 3 minutes later, Seattle vanished. In a flash of purple light, where a city of millions had stood, there was now only a perfect, smooth crater. No rubble, no dust, just emptiness, as if that part of Earth had been erased from existence. Panic spread across the globe. The United Nations called an emergency session. Military forces worldwide went to their highest alert level, though most generals already knew it would make no difference. By pure chance, the power surge from Zoltar's weapon reached Alan and Olivia's laboratory. Their equipment, which had failed 100 times before, suddenly received an unexpected energy input. Alarms blared as their dimensional resonance device activated. "What's happening?" Olivia shouted over the noise, rushing to check readings. Alan stared at the machine in shock. In the center of their lab, the air itself seemed to tear open. Through the small rip, they could see something else. Not stars or space, but a swirling, impossible pattern of colors and shapes that hurt their eyes. "It's working," Alan whispered. "Olivia, we did it." "That's a tear in space-time." The tear closed after 10 seconds, but the implications were enormous. Their device had worked. They had briefly opened a hole in reality itself. Catherine Williams was appointed Director of Earth Defense within hours of the attack. A former Navy admiral with gray hair and a reputation for creative thinking, she was now in charge of humanity's response to an impossible threat. "The aliens have given us 48 hours to surrender," she told her hastily assembled team in the Pentagon's deepest level. "After that, they start destroying more cities." "We have nothing that can touch their ships," said a general. "Actually," said a quiet voice from the back of the room, "we might have something." All heads turned to see Alan and Olivia, who had been flown in by military helicopter after their discovery. Alan stepped forward nervously. "We've developed something called dimensional resonance," he explained. "It can tear holes in space-time. Small ones for now, but with more power." He paused, looking at the grim faces around him. "With more power, we believe we could create a tear large enough to threaten not just their fleet, but potentially the stability of this entire region of space." Catherine's eyes narrowed. "You're suggesting we threaten to destroy ourselves along with them?" Olivia nodded. "It's the only leverage we have. Our conventional weapons can't hurt them, but this would scare anyone, even an empire that's conquered thousands of worlds." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was insanity, threatening to collapse reality itself rather than surrender. But what choice did they have? "How quickly can you build a larger version?" Catherine asked. "With unlimited resources? Maybe 40 hours, Alan said. Catherine checked her watch. "Then we have no time to waste. You'll have everything you need." As the meeting broke up, news arrived that Zoltar's forces had landed on Mars and captured the research outpost there. Among the prisoners was Dr. Paul Rodriguez, a geologist who happened to be Olivia's ex-husband. "They'll learn about our scientific capabilities from the Mars team," Olivia said worriedly. Catherine's face hardened. "Then we work faster. The countdown has started, for them and for us." The underground lab hummed with activity. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, their faces tight with stress. In the center of the room stood a machine 3 times larger than the original prototype. Alan checked connections while Olivia calibrated sensors. They had been awake for 30 hours straight. "If this works, what happens exactly?" Catherine asked. She had stayed with the project, sleeping only in short naps on a cot in the corner. Alan wiped sweat from his forehead. "In theory, we create a controlled tear in space-time. A small demonstration should be enough to convince the aliens we could make a bigger one." "And if we make a bigger one," Catherine pressed. Olivia looked up from her work. "Then we risk unraveling the fabric of reality in this part of the galaxy. Everything would be pulled into, well, we don't know what. Another dimension, maybe, or nowhere at all." Catherine nodded slowly. "A suicide button for the whole human race." "Exactly," Alan said. "But we're not actually going to use it at full power. We just need them to believe we would rather destroy everything than surrender." High above Earth, Emperor Zoltar received an interesting report. His scientists had questioned the humans captured on Mars. Most had little useful information, but one prisoner, Paul Rodriguez, had mentioned advanced physics research happening on Earth. "He claims his former wife works on something called dimensional resonance," General Vex said. "It could be nothing, but you thought I should know," Zoltar finished. He tapped his clawed fingers on the arm of his throne. "This species continues to surprise me. Most Type 1 civilizations surrender immediately." Zoltar stood up, his massive frame towering over his officers. "I will investigate this myself. Prepare my personal shuttle." On Earth, the United Nations meeting had dissolved into chaos. Some countries wanted to surrender immediately to prevent more destruction. Others insisted on fighting, no matter the cost. News of Seattle's destruction had spread worldwide, causing panic and evacuations from major cities. In the lab, Catherine received a call from the president. "The aliens are sending a ship down, a big one. They want to meet." "Where?" Catherine asked. "They've chosen a spot in the Swiss Alps. Open ground, away from cities. They're demanding our top leadership attend." Catherine looked at the dimensional resonator, still not complete. We need another 12 hours at least. Can you stall them? I'll try, but I can't promise anything. The meeting location was a flat valley surrounded by snow-covered mountains. A circle of heavily armed soldiers waited nervously as Zoltar's shuttle, larger than a commercial airliner, descended from the clouds. World leaders and their advisors stood together, trying to look brave. The shuttle landed without a sound. A ramp extended and Emperor Zoltar emerged, flanked by General Vex and 4 elite guards. Many humans gasped at their first sight of the alien emperor. His scales gleamed in the sunlight, and his eyes, ancient and cold, surveyed the gathering. With obvious boredom, I expected your surrender, Zoltar said, his voice deep and rumbling. Not a meeting. The president stepped forward. We want to discuss terms. Surely we can find a peaceful solution. Zoltar laughed, a sound like grinding stones. There are no terms. You submit to my rule, or you perish. 8,000 civilizations, before you have made the same choice. Catherine, standing behind the president, studied the aliens carefully. Despite their fearsome appearance, she noticed something interesting. Zoltar seemed almost tired, not physically, but in a deeper way, like someone who had seen too much, done too much. What do you gain from conquering us? She asked suddenly, stepping forward. Zoltar's cold eyes fixed on her. You address me directly, human? Yes. I'm Catherine Williams, Director of Earth Defense. General, Vex hissed. You should kneel before speaking to the Emperor. We don't kneel, Catherine said simply. Not on this planet. Something flickered in Zoltar's eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or curiosity. I conquer because that is what I do. 8,000 worlds have fallen before me. Yours is merely the next. But why? Catherine pressed. What do you gain? Resources? You clearly have advanced technology. Slaves? Machines would be more efficient. For a moment, Zoltar seemed at a loss for words. Then he recovered. Enough. You have 20 more hours to surrender. After that, we destroy another city. A larger one this time. Back at the lab, Alan and Olivia watched the meeting on a live feed. She's buying us time, Olivia said. How close are we? Alan checked the final connections. Almost there. We need to test it, but at low power. We can't risk a full activation until we're sure it works. On Mars, Paul Rodriguez sat in a cell on the alien base. He had told them about Olivia's work, hoping it might save his life. Now he wondered if he had doomed Earth instead. The aliens had shown unusual interest in dimensional resonance. A guard approached his cell. The Emperor wants more information about your ex-wife's research. You will provide it. Paul swallowed hard. I don't know much. We divorced 5 years ago. Then you are of no use, the guard said coldly. Before the guard could do anything, an alarm sounded throughout the base. Something was happening on Earth. In the mountain lab, Alan had activated the resonator at low power. A small tear, just 3 feet across, appeared in the center of the room. Through it, they could see swirling colors and impossible shapes. It's stable, Olivia said, checking readings. The tear is holding steady. Catherine stared at the hole in reality. Can the aliens detect this? Definitely, Alan confirmed. This is sending ripples through space-time. If they have any sensors worth their salt, they'll notice. He was right. On Zoltar's command ship, instruments went crazy. The Emperor himself was quickly summoned to the bridge. What is happening? He demanded. Zorax, his chief scientist, a being with multiple tentacles and eyes, worked frantically at a console. Energy readings from the planet's surface. Something is folding space-time. Dimensional resonance, Zoltar whispered. The prisoner spoke the truth. General Vex looked confused. What does this mean, Emperor? Zoltar's expression darkened. It means these humans are more dangerous than we thought. They're playing with forces that could tear apart the fabric of reality. Should we strike now? Asked Vex. Destroy their major cities before they can use this weapon? Zoltar considered this, then shook his head. No, I want to see this technology for myself. Direct all sensors at the source. Find exactly where this energy is coming from. In the lab, Alan shut down the resonator. The tier closed smoothly, leaving no trace it had ever existed. "It works," he said, a mixture of pride and fear in his voice. "Now we just need to convince Zoltar we're crazy enough to use it at full power." Catherine's phone rang. It was the president. "They've changed their plans," he said urgently. "The alien emperor is demanding to see our research facility. He knows about the resonator." Catherine looked at Alan and Olivia, her expression grim. "Then he's coming here. Get ready." Olivia checked the power controls. "Should we set it for another demonstration?" Catherine nodded. "Yes, but this time let's show them what happens at medium power. Let's give Emperor Zoltar something to worry about." Military helicopters landed outside the mountain facility. Soldiers formed a protective line as Emperor Zoltar's shuttle descended from the sky. The alien craft hummed quietly, settling on the snow with barely a sound. Inside the lab, Catherine gave final instructions. "Remember, we need to convince him we're serious, that we would rather destroy everything than surrender." Alan adjusted settings on the resonator. Medium power should create a tear about 10 feet wide, big enough to be scary, but not dangerous yet. Olivia checked the safety systems. "I've set emergency shutdowns in case anything goes wrong," i.e., massive doors to the lab slid open. Emperor Zoltar ducked to enter the room, his 9-foot frame dwarfing the humans. General Vex and Zorax, the multi-eyed scientist, followed close behind. "So this is the device," Zoltar said, his cold eyes fixed on the resonator. Catherine stepped forward. "Yes. We call it the dimensional resonator. It can tear holes in the fabric of reality." Zorax moved closer, his tentacles waving instruments around the machine. "Fascinating. The energy readings are unlike anything in our records." General Vex snorted. "It looks primitive. Are we supposed to believe this can threaten our fleet?" Alan spoke up, his voice steadier than he felt. "It's not your fleet we're threatening, it's existence itself." Zoltar turned his ancient gaze on Alan. "Explain." Alan took a deep breath. "The resonator creates controlled tears in space-time. At low power, these tears are small and temporary. But at full power, we could create a cascading collapse of reality," Olivia continued. "The tear would grow, feeding on the energy released by the collapsing space-time around it. It would spread throughout the solar system," Alan added. "Then to nearby stars. Eventually, it could consume a significant portion of the galaxy." Vex laughed, a harsh barking sound. "Impossible. No Type 1 civilization could create such a weapon." "Show them," Catherine said quietly. Alan nodded and moved to the control panel. He activated the resonator at medium power. The machine hummed loudly, energy crackling around its core. In the center of the lab, the air seemed to split open. A tear formed, growing quickly to 10 feet across. Through it, everyone could see swirling patterns of energy and matter that hurt their eyes to look at directly. Strange lights cast shadows that moved in impossible ways. The gravity in the room fluctuated. Tools and small objects began to float. The temperature dropped suddenly, frost forming on nearby surfaces. The tear pulsed, sending waves of distortion through the air. Zoltar stepped back, real fear showing in his eyes for the first time. Zorax's tentacles trembled as his instruments went haywire. "Enough!" General Vex shouted. "Turn it off." Alan reduced power, and the tear slowly closed. Objects fell back to tables and floors with clattering sounds. The room returned to normal temperature. Silence filled the lab. Then Zoltar spoke, his voice quieter than before. "You would destroy yourselves to stop us?" "Yes," Catherine said simply. "Freedom is that important to us." Zoltar's eyes narrowed. "You're bluffing." Catherine met his gaze steadily. "We have 5 more resonators hidden around the planet. If you destroy another city, they all activate at maximum power. Everything ends for all of us." It wasn't true. There was only this one resonator. But Zoltar didn't know that. "How do I know you have these other devices?" Zoltar demanded. "You don't." Catherine replied. That's the beauty of it, you can't risk being wrong. General Vex leaned close to Zoltar. They must be lying, Emperor. Let me send troops to search for these other devices. And if you don't find them in time? Zoltar asked. If they activate them while we search? Zorax moved forward, his voice a strange whisper. Emperor, my readings confirm this technology could do exactly what they claim. The tear we just witnessed was stable but contained, at higher power. It would be neither stable nor contained, Alan finished. Zoltar paced the length of the lab, his clawed hands clasped behind his back. For a being who had conquered thousands of worlds, this was a new experience. No species had ever threatened mutual destruction rather than submit. Why fight so hard? He asked suddenly. Under my rule, your daily lives would continue. You would have peace, order. My empire provides protection. But not freedom, Catherine said. Humans need freedom, more than we need safety. On Mars, Paul Rodriguez was brought to a communication room. On a screen, he could see the lab on Earth, his ex-wife standing near a strange machine. Tell us what you know about this device, an alien officer demanded. Paul stared at the screen. That's Olivia's work. Dimensional resonance. She tried to explain it to me once, but it was too complicated. Would she use it? Would humans destroy reality rather than surrender? Paul thought about it. He remembered Olivia's determination, her passion for her work. Yes, he said finally. If pushed too far, they would. Back on Earth, Zoltar made a decision. I will return to my ship to consider your situation. No further cities will be destroyed while I deliberate. After the aliens left, Catherine turned to Alan and Olivia. Will they believe us? I think so, Olivia said. Zorax certainly seemed convinced by the demonstration. But we don't actually have 5 more resonators, Alan reminded them. If Zoltar calls our bluff, Catherine nodded grimly, then we need a backup plan. How quickly could you increase the power of this one? To full capacity? Maybe 12 hours. But Catherine, at full power, we don't know exactly what would happen. I know, but if all else fails, we need that option. On Zoltar's command ship, a heated debate took place. General Vex argued for immediate attack. They are bluffing, Emperor. No species would destroy themselves. Most species surrender, Zoltar countered. These humans haven't. That alone makes them unusual. Zorax displayed his sensor readings. The technology is real. Whether they have 5 more devices is uncertain, but even one at full power could trigger a space-time collapse. Zoltar stared at the blue planet on the main screen. In his 1,000-year reign, he had faced many different forms of resistance, armies, superweapons, even biological attacks. But never had a species threatened to tear apart reality itself. We will test them, he decided finally. Prepare weapons. Target their city called New York. General Vex smiled cruelly. Yes, Emperor. In the mountain lab, alarms suddenly blared. Catherine rushed to a monitor. They're positioning weapons above New York City. Alan and Olivia exchanged looks of horror. They're calling our bluff, Alan said. Can we stop them? Olivia asked. Catherine shook her head. Not with conventional weapons. Alan took a deep breath. Then we have no choice. We need to activate the resonator at high power. Not maximum, but enough to show them we're serious. That's risky, Olivia warned. We haven't tested it at that level. We're out of options, Catherine said. Do it. Alan began adjusting settings. This will create a tear large enough for them to detect from orbit. It might cause some local disruptions in space-time, but it should remain controllable. Catherine got on the phone to the president. Sir, evacuate New York immediately, and pray this works. As Zoltar's weapon charged, aimed at the heart of New York City, Alan activated the resonator at high power. The machine roared to life, the lab filling with crackling energy and strange lights. A tear opened in the center of the room, quickly growing to 20 feet across. Wind rushed toward it, papers and small objects flying into the swirling void. The floor trembled. Lights flickered throughout the facility. On Zoltar's ship, Sensors went wild. Zorax frantically worked his controls. Emperor. They've activated a resonator at high power. Space-time distortions are increasing exponentially. Zoltar watched as the readings climbed higher. Hold fire, he ordered. Let's see how far they'll go. The mountain shook. In the lab, warning lights flashed as the high-powered tear in space-time grew more unstable. Cracks appeared in the walls. Computer screens flickered with strange patterns. Alan, we need to reduce power now, Olivia shouted over the noise. The tear is growing too fast. Alan worked frantically at the controls. I'm trying. The system is becoming less responsive. Catherine held onto a table to keep her balance as the floor trembled beneath them. Can you close it? Not immediately, Alan said. I can start the shutdown process, but it will take a few minutes. Above them, in orbit, Emperor Zoltar watched the energy readings with growing alarm. The space-time distortion was expanding rapidly, already affecting a 5-mile radius around the mountain facility. The humans have gone mad, General Vex said. They'll destroy themselves. Zorax's many eyes blinked nervously. Not just themselves. My calculations show the distortion could spread to cover the entire planet within hours, then to the rest of the solar system. Zoltar gripped the arms of his command chair. And there are supposedly 5 more of these devices, ready to activate? If they exist, yes, Zorax confirmed. The combined effect would accelerate the collapse exponentially. For the first time in centuries, Zoltar felt true fear. Not for himself. His ship could jump to hyperspace and escape. But for his empire. If space-time itself began to unravel in this region of the galaxy, the effects might eventually reach his home worlds. Send an urgent message to the humans, he ordered. Tell them we wish to negotiate. In the lab, Alan finally managed to start the shutdown sequence. The tear began to shrink slowly, but strange phenomena continued around them. Objects appeared and disappeared. Time itself seemed to flow at different rates in different parts of the room. Look at your watch, Olivia said in wonder. Alan glanced down to see the seconds ticking by at half their normal speed. A communication. Screen lit up. General Vex's face appeared. Cease your attack immediately. The Emperor demands to speak with you. Catherine stepped forward. This isn't an attack. It's a demonstration. Tell your Emperor we'll speak when he calls off his weapons targeting New York. After a brief pause, Vex returned. The weapons have been powered down. Now stop your machine. Alan continued the shutdown process. Gradually, the tear shrank too. A small point of light then vanished. The strange effects in the room faded. Normal gravity and time resumed. That was close, Alan said, wiping sweat from his face. At that power level, the tear was barely under our control. Catherine nodded grimly. But it worked. They believe us now. Emperor Zoltar's shuttle returned to the mountain facility in Ivro. Hour later. This time, when he entered the lab, his posture was different. The overwhelming confidence was gone, replaced by cautious respect. Your demonstration was convincing, Zoltar said. He looked at Alan. Your technology is far beyond what a Type 1 civilization should possess. Alan shrugged. We got lucky. Sometimes scientific breakthroughs happen by accident. Zorax moved closer to the resonator, studying it with fascination. The principles behind this device, they contradict much of what we thought we knew about space-time. That's the beauty of science, Olivia said. There's always more to learn. Zoltar turned to Catherine. You claim to have 5 more of these devices? Catherine met his gaze steadily. Yes. All ready to activate if Earth is attacked again. It was still a bluff, but one Zoltar clearly wasn't willing to call. What are your terms? The Emperor asked. Catherine blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected surrender so quickly. Earth remains free and independent. Your forces leave our solar system immediately. Impossible, General Vex growled. The Emperor never surrenders territory once claimed. There's always a first time, Catherine countered. Zoltar was silent for a long moment. In his 1,000-year, Rain. He had never encountered a situation like this. His power came from superior technology and military might, but against a weapon that could tear apart reality itself, conventional power meant nothing. "I propose a compromise," he finally said. "Earth will be designated a protected independent world. You will not be part of my empire, but you will also not be my enemy. We will establish diplomatic relations." Catherine looked at Alan and Olivia, who both nodded slightly. "We can accept those terms," she said. "With one addition. You must free the prisoners taken from Mars." "Agreed," Zoltar said, quickly. "They will be returned unharmed." On Mars, Paul Rodriguez was surprised when his cell door opened. "You're being released," the guard told him. "All humans are being sent back to Earth." "Why?" Paul asked. The guard looked uncomfortable. "The Emperor has reached an agreement with your leaders." Word spread quickly among the prisoners. Something extraordinary had happened. Humanity, a relatively primitive species, had somehow forced the mighty Emperor Zoltar to back down. In the White House, the president addressed a roomful of stunned world leaders via video conference. "It's confirmed. The alien forces are withdrawing from Earth orbit. Their emperor has recognized our independence." Cheers erupted around the world as the news spread. People who had been preparing for the end of civilization suddenly found themselves safe. The massive alien ships which had darkened skies worldwide began to move away. Back at the facility, Catherine, Alan, and Olivia watched a monitor showing Zoltar's fleet departing. "We actually did it," Olivia said in amazement. "We bluffed the most powerful being in the galaxy." "Not entirely a bluff," Alan pointed out. "The resonator really could do what we claimed." Catherine nodded. "That's what made it work. The best bluffs contain truth." Zoltar, standing on the bridge of his command ship, watched Earth grow smaller on the view screen. General Vex approached cautiously. "Emperor, once we're safely away, we could return with our full fleet. The humans couldn't possibly have enough resonators to stop us then." Zoltar turned to his general with cold eyes. "And risk the collapse of space-time across our empire? No. Some risks are not worth taking." He looked back at the blue planet. "Besides, these humans interest me. In 8,000 conquests, none have shown such determination." Zorax joined them, his tentacles clutching data pads. "Their science is remarkable, Emperor. If they can discover dimensional resonance as a Type 1 civilization, imagine what else they might develop in time." "Indeed," Zoltar said thoughtfully. "Perhaps there is more value in having them as allies than as subjects." Back on Earth, as night fell, Alan and Olivia stood outside the mountain facility, looking up at the stars. The alien fleet was visible, only as distant points of light now moving away from Earth. "What happens now?" Olivia asked. Alan smiled tiredly. "Now we sleep for about 3 days. Then we figure out how to make sure this never happens again." "You mean improve the resonator?" "I mean make sure we have a real defense next time, not just a bluff." Catherine joined them, carrying 3 cups of coffee. "There's already talk of an international space defense program, using our new diplomatic status to learn from other worlds." "First contact," Olivia said, sipping her coffee. "Not how anyone expected it to happen." "It rarely is," Catherine replied. She looked up at the fading lights of Zoltar's fleet. "But I have a feeling this is just the beginning." 5 years passed quickly. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined before first contact. The planet that had once been divided by borders and conflicts was now united by a common purpose: to secure humanity's place among the stars. Alan walked through the new Global Space Research Center built near the original mountain facility. Glass walls showed snow-capped peaks outside. Scientists from around the world worked at advanced stations, many studying technology shared by alien civilizations. "Dr. Shepard," a young researcher called out, "the test results from the mini-resonator are ready." Alan smiled. The resonator technology that had saved Earth was now being carefully developed under strict safety protocols. Not as a weapon, but as a tool for scientific discovery and eventually, a new form of space travel. "I'll check them later," he said. I have a meeting with the ambassador. In a large conference room, Catherine Williams stood before a wall of screens. Now serving as Earth's ambassador to the galactic community, she wore a formal blue uniform, with a small Earth emblem. On the screens, representatives from 12 different alien species waited. Earth's position remains the same, Catherine said firmly. We welcome trade and knowledge exchange, but our system remains independent territory. A squid-like being made clicking sounds that the translator converted to words. Your species advances quickly. Some council members have concerns. We understand those concerns, Catherine replied. But remember, we were willing to destroy reality itself rather than lose our freedom. That hasn't changed. After the meeting, Catherine found Alan waiting outside. Still scaring the galactic politicians? He asked with a grin. Catherine laughed. It works. How's the research going? Better than expected. Olivia thinks we're close to creating stable microtiers that could serve as gateways between points. In space. They walked together to the observation deck. Below them spread a massive construction yard where Earth's first true starships were being built. Workers moved around the skeletal frames of vessels designed with help from friendly alien species. I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, Alan said. Humans building starships. Catherine nodded. Neither did Emperor Zoltar. That's why he's coming back. At a base on the far side of the moon, Olivia supervised final preparations for Zoltar's visit. It was the first time the Emperor would return to Earth's solar system since the confrontation 5 years ago. All systems check out, reported a technician. The diplomatic vessel will arrive in orbit in 2 hours. Olivia looked at the data on her tablet. The resonator network was online. Not a bluff this time, but real. 6 small resonators positioned throughout the solar system, carefully calibrated to activate only if Earth was attacked. A true doomsday defense. Paul Rodriguez entered the room, now serving as liaison to the Martian colonies. His relationship with Olivia had slowly healed over the years as they worked together. Nervous about seeing the Emperor again? He asked. Olivia shook her head. Not really. We're not the same primitive species he tried to conquer. And he knows it. Zoltar's vessel entered orbit precisely on schedule. Smaller than his former command ship, it was still impressive. A gleaming construct of metals unknown on Earth. A shuttle departed from the vessel, heading toward the lunar base. In the reception area, Catherine, Alan, Olivia, and other key Earth representatives waited. Security was present, but minimal. This was a diplomatic visit, not a confrontation. The massive doors slid open. Emperor Zoltar entered, still imposing at 9 feet tall, but his manner was different. The cold arrogance was gone, replaced by something closer to respect. General Vex was absent, replaced by Zorax and several other advisors. Ambassador Williams, Zoltar said with a slight bow of his head. Earth continues to surprise me. In good ways, I hope, Catherine replied. Indeed. Most species take centuries to advance as you have in 5 years. The formal meeting began in a large conference room. Trade agreements were discussed, boundary treaties signed, but everyone knew the real purpose of Zoltar's visit came next. We face a threat, the Emperor said finally. A species from beyond the rim of our galaxy has begun incursions into our territory. They use technology we do not understand. Alan leaned forward. What kind of technology? They can somehow move between dimensions, Zorax explained. Appearing and disappearing at will. Our weapons cannot track them. Olivia's eyes widened. Like a form of dimensional shifting? Similar to your resonator technology, but different, Zoltar confirmed. That is why I am here. We need your help. The room fell silent. The irony was not lost on anyone. The Emperor, who had once tried to conquer Earth, was now asking for its assistance. What exactly are you proposing? Catherine asked carefully. An alliance, Zoltar said. Your scientists working with ours to develop defenses against this new threat. In return, we offer full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges. Alan and Olivia exchanged looks. The dimensional knowledge they had stumbled upon by accident had turned humanity from potential slaves into valued allies. In just 5 years, Catherine remained diplomatic. We'll need to discuss this with Earth's leaders. But speaking personally, I think we can help each other. Later, as Zoltar toured the lunar facility, Alan showed him the improved resonator technology. We've refined it considerably, Alan explained. Much more stable now with precise control. Zoltar studied the device with genuine interest. You could have used this knowledge to build weapons, to conquer other worlds as I once did. Alan shook his head. That's not who we are. We only threatened to destroy reality because you left us no choice. A bluff that changed the course of galactic history, Zoltar mused. Not entirely a bluff, Olivia corrected, joining them. We really would have done it. Zoltar looked at her with new understanding. Yes, I believe you would have. That is what makes humans so valuable. 1 month later, the first joint human-alien expedition departed Earth. Their mission was to investigate the dimensional beings threatening the galaxy. The flagship, named Resonance, carried Alan, Olivia, and a hand-picked team of Earth's best scientists. Catherine stood at the command center on Earth, watching the ship disappear into the darkness of space. Paul stood beside her. Do you think they'll succeed? He asked. If anyone can, it's them, Catherine replied. 5 years ago, we were fighting for our survival. Now we're helping defend the galaxy. On the bridge of the Resonance, Alan and Olivia watched Earth grow smaller on the view screen. Around them, human crew members worked alongside aliens from 6 different worlds. It's strange, Olivia said quietly. All of this happened because of a failed experiment and a desperate bluff. Alan smiled. That's humans for you. We're at our best when things look worst. As the ship prepared for its first jump into deep space, Alan thought about how close they had come to destruction and how far they had come since. The Galactic Tyrant who had wanted to enslave them now treated humans as equals, all because humans had been crazy enough to threaten the end of everything rather than surrender their freedom, and brave enough to make the threat believable.